Hi, folks. My name is Stephen Cornelius. We are from UCSI Extension, a training and consulting company based in Cheras. We are the wholly owned subsidiary of UCSI Group and part of UCSI University. Our focus has been in training, and we focus in three key areas: training, consultancy, as well as edutourism. Today, we're going to spend some time with you and talk about some aspects of training. And I have today Mr. Palani Murugappan, who I term him as an interpreter. And he is going to share with us what is the main focus of training in regards to data analysis, analytics, and visualization. So, Mr. Palani, thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting.
It's quite curious, I just want to ask you what made you go into training, knowing your experience and all that. Okay, you have gone to other careers. Okay, so what do you think of this industry, and what made you go into training?
I never thought of seeing myself as a trainer, so this was a journey by chance, and I've stuck to it. I was working in a chocolate manufacturing company, and they put me in charge of setting up a lease line system for 6 of the other branches outside the Klang Valley.
Okay.
Right, so I was liaising with telecom and so on. Then after setting up all this lease line system, I found myself I had to go to those branches and start training those participants. And I found I enjoyed the training bit more than the implementation of lease lines.
Okay.
Right, so along the way, my financial controller, financial director, I should say, he opted for early retirement and he got himself involved in training. So he then roped me in to say, hey, look, can you come and team up with me just for one session? Because being a finance person, he was well versed in finance, but not the practical part of showing people the calculations on finance.
Okay.
So he asked me to use the tool which is most popular at that time was Excel until today.
Yeah.
So I did the Excel part and he did the finance part. So when we launched the first program, I recall was in July 2000. So there's 20 years in training now.
Okay.
It sold very well, right?
Okay.
And the training provider said, look, since it's selling very well, why don't you guys look into repeating it on every month and so on.
Okay.
So the next month we had far better response, and we had to break the session
I
into
see.
2 programs.
Interesting. Very interesting.
My ex-boss was saying me, look, maybe you should look into this full time. So I threw in my resignation and I went in full time.
Wow.
Right? So we were having a ball over time for the next 2 years. And then one fine day, he dropped the bomb on me.
Okay.
He said, look, Palani, I'm going back to Australia. My family is there. They need me more. So then the training provider got back to me and said, hey, look, if you look at the evaluation, a lot of the participants are coming to learn from you.
Okay.
Because these are all people with finance background. They didn't needed the finance stuff. They already knew, they're quite well versed in finance.
Interesting.
So he asked me to do it on my own. So I did the first session, and again, it sold quite well. So the second session became better, and then I've been on my own ever since then.
Fantastic.
Never looked back.
Fantastic. You realize that you got this reservoir of information that you can use, all right? And people, from a raw data, you can crunch it and come up with decision makings, okay? And I think that's what it's needed, okay?
Yeah.
Right. So your emphasis, as I see, and I've shared, and as we talked about it as well, have been on data analysis and analytics and visualization. Could you please elaborate a little bit more on this?
Data analysis is basically performing analysis of past or previous data that's already been captured. Data analytics is basically what you anticipate in future to happen based on the previous data that you already captured. And visualization is basically how you put the two of them together and make decisions from it based on using charts, dashboards, infographics. So management can, purely by visualizing the whole thing, they can make quick decisions.
Is your target more on finance people in the finance area, other guys in banking? So what that is covers in with respect to people who should probably apply this?
The initial days was mostly people who came from finance background.
Yes.
Because they were the heavy Excel users, right? But over time, I guess that the usage of Excel has crept onto other departments. Today, I have got programs catering for sales and marketing people,
Interesting.
HR people, right? Legal people, medical people, right? Educationists, right?
Okay.
So I cover basically across the board, the entire board, basically anybody who has been capturing data, right? Looking into how you
Okay.
can convert that into meaningful information.
Uh-huh.
That's my target audience.
Okay.
So I basically train them in aspects of number one, capturing data.
Okay.
Number two, how to clean up the data, because that's also a specific area that many people don't really look into in detail. So once you clean up, then you format the data, and then comes your last stage where you analyze it.
If you've got participants, right, okay, in terms of decision making and reporting, for example, if you give me an example, whether it's in HR or a specific area or somebody in the bank, okay, how effective this program is going to be for them in terms of delivering outputs and in terms of presentation.
Right. So this is how I've helped one of my clients. Now, for a shared service industry, if you notice, many of them work around the clock, right, 24 hours. So because they're serving different regions and they have to work based on the region's time and so on. And because of that, you find the employee turnover is very high.
I see.
So now, how do you know the next person you're going to employ is going to be staying a longer time than compared to the average time? How I've solved a company's problem was their workers were predominantly all locals. So what we did was we just looked at the IC number, right? Based on the IC number, we managed to analyze the IC number, and we found, for example, those who came or were born in the state of Perak, right? Females between the age of 27 to 35 were the most loyal in that company because they tend to work more than on average 2.5 years. So this is how analysis has helped them. So now you as a HR manager, you'll be thinking, hey, right, I got 3 candidates now who have shortlisted. Who will be the best candidate? So now your analysis has proven to you that people who came from this particular state tend to last longer. So you may also want to consider taking someone who was born from that state. I'm not saying that is the best candidate, but your analysis has shown that people who are born in that state have lasted longer.
So Palani, what do you see are some of the issues organizers encounter relating to data analysis?
This is one of the key issues I have seen with some of my clients is, for example, management makes decisions from information of the raw data, but many of them don't seem to realize that the data that they have has not been captured accurately.
Okay.
Right? You need to look at data being captured accurately, data integrity. Sometimes you're looking at blanks, data, right? So you need to look at aspects of data cleansing first, and that's where a lot of time is being spent, right? So for example, one of the companies I did some training for, the management was purely making decisions from about 80% of their data, and the crucial bit was in the balance of the 15-20%.
Okay.
Right, so this is where sometimes they lose out. So data cleansing is a very important technique that people should learn first before they go and move on into aspects of analysis. So in my programs, I cover first data cleansing techniques, then formatting techniques, and then we move on to analysis.
So now, as we look at the issues in organizations, so what do you see the future in stake with regards to data analysis and analytics?
Data on its own is worthless unless you know how to analyze it. Then it becomes meaningful, right? So that's how organizations or big huge companies like Google have their own Google Analytics, Facebook have their own. They managed to grow their business in exponentially, basically exponentially. Why? Because they've been performing a lot of analysis, analytics, and so on. So now, for you to make decent business decisions, you need to have some aspects of insights. The insights fall back on data. The data has to be captured correctly. So the process has to be in place, and many companies often overlook that. So if you ask me the future of analysis, I think there's tremendous future because the whole world is moving towards areas of data science, big data, right? And all this falls back on raw data. Right? So data analysis is the first step that you need to look into before they can move on to analytics, visualization, data science, and then you look into the big aspects, which is big data. A lot of it is being stored on the cloud. But then from the cloud, how you analyze it is a different matter altogether. So SMEs are struggling today because they don't have key people in their team to do these aspects of analysis for them to grow and plan ahead, So I see this as tremendous growth in future.
That's really it's interesting to to hear from Palani Murugappan, the interpreter. And I must tell you that Palani is just not an ordinary person. He's been having this experience for such a long period of time, more than 20 years, and he's also written 51 books on relating to IT and in each subject that he has got so much of passion about. So, I would just encourage as we go forward, okay, in the industry where big data is important, analytics is important, and for those of you who are keen to know more about it, search our website and look into areas that you think you want to improve and sign up for our programs. Thank you very much. Be safe and be healthy.
Thank you.